Hello everybody and welcome to our deep dive into the Starfield Direct that happened on June 11th, 2023. We finally had the opportunity to sit down and go through everything we saw at that event, and so we're going to be doing a deep dive into that today. This is Ash for the Triple S League. I'm here with Subsidian and Moontag. How are you guys doing today?
Hello, good.
Just before we get into the actual Starfield Direct, we want to discuss some very, very recent news because just earlier today, Todd Howard was on the Kinda Funny Games podcast doing an interview, and he answered some questions and dropped some interesting info about the game. So we want to discuss that. Now we'll let Saib take the lead on that.
They asked a lot of questions. Some were hard hitting. There was a handful of pointed questions. The first, what you might call antagonistic type question, was, is there fishing in the game? What you do
Can you take out your space fishing gear and go space fishing for space fish?
And Todd Howard said, yes, if your space fishing gear is a gun and the fish are the giant fish that will try and eat you.
Oh, that's way better.
The answer is yes. The answer is no to traditional fishing. That you
like not a fishing rod type situation.
Yeah.
Great.
And there are some amazing fishing mods for Skyrim, some really, really cool fishing mods for Skyrim, but that is a no. It's not in there natively as far as the base experience, the vanilla experience. This wasn't on my list. I know it's on other people's lists, so it's a little too bad that it's not in there, but so is things like vehicles. There are no vehicles and no mounts in the game. And
no land vehicles anyway. Yeah. But I was a little surprised by that. Yeah, he mentioned there was no land vehicles for traversal of the surface of the planets. But you do have your jetpack or your rocket pack that sort of it fills that purpose. And you were saying, we were chatting about this beforehand, Saib, you were saying, it'd be like flying around in a drone, basically.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. So you do have that option for quick traversal. It did seem a little odd that, you can't, you can build these bases and stuff, but you don't have vehicles you can drive around. It did seem odd to me. Again, doesn't make or break it.
When you're on a low gravity planet, you literally become a drone. If it's low enough gravity, you can go from
you just float, yeah.
large areas with the jetpack because you're only weighing like 10% of what you normally weigh, or 20 or 40 or even 50%. And your jetpack's able to basically make you fly the whole time. The tech is there for the jetpack. I suspect it's going to be very easy for them for modders to be able to port that over to create hover bikes. I think that'll probably be one of our first mods for the game, will be literal hover bikes, and then we can fly out of the back of the ship and just cover lots of ground with that thing and then mount it.
Well, I'm sure that at some point someone's going to do a full Star Wars conversion mod for this at some point, and it'll probably be the best Star Wars game ever made. Yes, that's some shade at EA.
But as far as mounts go, like creature mounts go,
well, they're going for realism here.
Yeah,
and there may be like if you might have creatures that you can domesticate, like assuming if there's planets with animal-like creatures like this, and this is one. I always find that in sci-fi, everything's like a variation of something we have on Earth. You got like alien fish and alien mushrooms and alien kangaroos. Like they look weird. They're different than what we have, but they're kind of based on Earth things. What if the indigenous life was, say, like some kind of crystalline growth that doesn't move, or liquid blobs that float in the ocean, or like I don't know. Like there's so many different variations of what life could be or could look like that's different from what we have on Earth. But I'm kind of going off on a tangent. What I was trying to say is that it makes sense if you have animal life like we have on Earth, that there would be some that you can domesticate. But to be like a Zelda Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom situation where you can just like hop on a moose and tame it and ride around on it.
Because you want to tame a moose.
Probably not. Probably not. Like that moose is going to buck you off and kill you. Or, they have that again in Jedi Survivor. There's animals that you can tame, but it made sense because of your force powers. You can like instantly calm them and make them trust you kind of thing. This kind of scenario, I'm not expecting animal mounts. It might be. I find that less realistic than having land vehicles.
It's extraordinarily unrealistic. It's like you're going to take a horse to another planet.
What else did he talk about in that interview that you found interesting?
So exploration and the planets. Only about 10% of the planets are going to have life on them. As I understand, most we're not going to any solar systems that have inhospitable stars. Stars that are belching out gamma radiation constantly. We're not going there because that's the stars and the planets and the solar systems that we're going to have been at least scouted. They've already filtered out all of the pointless star systems in the galaxy, which reduces that number of explorable systems down to literally 1 out of hundreds. And then out of that, there's 1 out of hundreds of those that have a planet that potentially has life on it.
I'm fine with that because it's like I don't want to get tiresome gameplay where it's just like, oh, all of the planets have all these things, and it's like, because like with the progressional algorithm, whatever they're doing, I don't want it to feel like, oh no, your outpost has an issue, come check it out. I don't want to feel like that.
the Preston Garvey, your outpost needs help.
Basically, it's like I don't want to have to constantly be running to every single thing. I want to be able to pick and choose and have there be like enough difference between like the places that do have life for it to be interesting, right? Because it's like, if you think about it, if like everything has life on it, for example, how different can it be, right? Like it's going to start to feel a little bit repetitive at that point. Whereas like I'm totally fine with having like a bunch of planets having like just resources, like different resources on it. Like that makes sense.
Sorry for talking over you there. I keep thinking you're done and then I just start.
Even with this stream of words constantly coming out of my mouth.
That's okay. No, I want to hear your thoughts. But this leads to another question that I have is how diverse are the biomes going to be and how diverse is the life going to be? The diversity of the biomes, is there any kind of procedural generation to the types of biomes or the types of life that we will see? Or is every creature sort of handcrafted?
As far as I understand it, the biomes and the flora and fauna have been procedurally generated and then approved. So we're not going to be getting any wonky, bizarro, can't take it seriously, No Man's Sky monsters that don't make any logistical sense or that just look like, somebody mashed together a couple of giant phallic-shaped objects that you find in Spore. It's like you
I was thinking Spore, and I was thinking No Man's Sky. Like, it is.
Again, as far as I understand, but nobody has pressed on this issue that I can find that I can reasonably answer and say, yes, it's 100%.
That's funny to me because that's the first question I would be asking Todd Howard if I had the opportunity. Yeah.
Well, again, it's like all these people are asking they're asking sort of the question in the vicinity of. They're not phrasing it correctly, so nobody's phrased this correctly to him going, they talk about the biomes, and in that they do mean sort of that question about the creatures, but they're not phrasing it correctly. So because he's not, he's a very refined interviewer, Todd Howard is very, very precise in his words.
He answers very carefully, and it almost becomes irritating at times, although I know why he does it. It also becomes irritating that he's always like, well, that's really the question, isn't it? And our team has really been, we've been focused on that from the beginning, and then our team has really been working hard, and I really like what they've done with it, and right? That's how he'll answer, a question like that, or like it's actually he always seems like when he was directly asked about the fishing and had to just say no. He looked incredibly uncomfortable. Everybody looked uncomfortable at that point.
Yeah, they were like, well, now the interview is ruined, and then that joke kind of made everybody laugh and relax a little bit. So the point that I'd like to get to here with the question is regarding the actual biomes and what's actually going on with the biomes and what we're expecting. So really, it's a multiple of questions. And people in our community have been asking me this, and this is the good question. So when you go to planet 32X, what is at 32X? Is it just a desert planet from pole to pole? Like can you walk from one side of the planet to the other side of the planet in a circle? Is it just a desert planet, or are you going to come across different biomes within that thing? So if you go north, are you going to come across some alpine type life, then some North Pole stuff? What are we all getting? So that question has never been answered directly as far as I can see, aside from the fact that apparently, yes, you can walk. If you just walk straight east, you should be able to come back to your ship coming from the west. So that's what we're kind of expecting as far as that, because when they talk about how they take these giant maps that they've been able to procedurally generate, they've literally wrapped it around a globe. So that has been said multiple times. So I don't think
that's a very good question.
An invisible wall.
The only invisible walls will probably be around the portion of the galaxy that you can explore, unless that wraps as well. Or it might just be the edge of the galaxy, and it's like, okay, there's nothing out there, and we can't reach the other galaxies. And that's an invisible wall that actually is based in realism, which I can get behind, because nothing breaks immersion more than just being like text popping up on the screen, being like, you can't go in this direction. And it's like, well, yes, I can. It's open ground, and there's stuff over there. Well, that's all just background stuff. You can't go there.
So while let's finish off the planet question with a question that was asked by a big-time news journalist, gaming journalist. Oh, I can't imagine how long the campaign's gonna last if I have to explore 1,000 planets. Oh my goodness, that's gonna be nightmarishly difficult. No, you're not forced to explore all 1,000 planets. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional with this stuff. They've stated this time and time and time and time again. You're not being forced to explore 1,000 planets. You can explore 1,000 planets.
Yeah.
The official count for how long it's going to take you to finish the main campaign is between 30 and 40 hours if you just focus on the
pretty standard game length. Yeah, which is and that's
stuff. You're looking at any of the recent games that Bethesda has put out. It's about 30, 40 hours to finish the main campaign if you're not doing any of the side stuff.
But I mean, any like lots of these games, you can get lost exploring and spend dozens of hours doing side stuff and totally forget about the main quest, and then be like, what was I doing? I'm the hero of something. You want me to do what now? I'm supposed to, no, exactly. You will have key places you go to. There's main cities, there's main areas that are handcrafted, not procedural. This isn't just some big open survival game. It's an RPG with a central quest line, with side quests, with locations, with all of that stuff. It's just brought up to a larger scale. It's like you play Skyrim, there's plenty of wilderness you can just run around in and explore if you want. It's that, just on a bigger scale. There's just a lot more wilderness, and it's on different planets. But you can still, if you just want to go to the main areas and just do the main quest, you can do that too.
I'm just looking forward to seeing the different biomes, the different creatures and stuff, and like seeing how casually I can play it.
I'm looking forward to that too. I'm hoping for an incredible amount of variety. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we can't wish for the moon. We can't expect this to be a Matrix level simulation.
No. Because if anything, what they've said so far about the game, like, it's got like a lot of different directions people can go in, right? Whether like you want to follow the campaign or just go exploration mode. For me personally, I really like base building and resource management, so it'll be interesting to see how to manage that, especially with the companions. See how I can
You want to build my bases for me and like do all that for me? Because I
totally would.
I like doing that a little bit, but not too much.
So the just to briefly touch on the companions thing, seems that most of the companions that are quest related, those are the main romanceable companions. At first, those are to be pretty much the sole romanceable companions are all met through there, through Constellation. and then we're probably going to be getting more as they put out DLC. And of course, we will be getting more through mods, because mods are going to be huge. Todd Howard, in the interview with Kind of Funny, did specifically talk about the modding community, how it is very important to them. He also emphasized that it's important that they help to establish the tools and the ease of creation, but that they are not that it's not on them to control or to even influence it. And I think this is a brilliant move. We've seen what happens when another company tried to say, hey, everything that you make actually belongs to us, and we own it, lock, stock, and barrel, legally. Legally, we own everything you create for this game. If you create a game mode, we own that game mode. If you create a map, we own that map. If you create a hero, so, people then created a bunch of the most vilest, racist, terrible things you can imagine.
And it's yay, we now own this.
And then Activision, oh, sorry, I said the name. Then this company, which shall remain nameless, actually legally owned it, and they had to then immediately delete, they had to actually spend time curating this, because they violated certain rules and laws in certain countries where that making that stuff is illegal.
Yeah. Real smart move. This is why,
on them, but why
where these game companies get this idea that they need to control what you do with the stuff they put out, and they have to control how you play. Nintendo's bad for this. A lot of other companies are bad for this. So then you get, Bethesda's always had, for all their flaws, and they do have many, they've always been very open about the modding thing, and yes, you can make what you want for these games. Here's even some tools to help you do it. They've been really good about that, and that's really contributed to the longevity of their games, as we have talked about many, many, many times. That's really, if they want this to be a game people are still playing in 10 years, which sounds like a long time, but when did Skyrim come out? Way more than 10 years now, and people are still playing it and modding it. And yes, of course, there are the very explicit sandwich making romance mods that they throw in there. So yes, romance is going to be big, and of course people were asking about that. All right, we're going to get into the Starfield Direct and look at some details of what we're actually seeing when they're showing the gameplay.
So on each planet, when you're on a planet, it tells you what planet you're on the little watch thing at the bottom left.
Down in the bottom left, yes.
Yeah, and then you've got nav point icons.
Yep.
On there, and then you also have every planet has kind of like an east and a west, north south kind of thing, and the direction that that's always kept secret. So the 5 key directions. So yeah, that's cool. There, it's nice to have that. That presence of similarity when you're on planet to planet. That helps a lot, even though that may not necessarily be, some planets don't have a magnetic core, so compass is kind of useless, but it's nice to have it here because that lets us see and get a feel for things.
I love this backdrop, by the way, with the planet, with the rings. That's very big. It seems like, I'm guessing he's actually on a moon here of that planet. Yeah, Cassiopeia 4A, so that might be 4 might be the 4th planet in the solar system, and A possibly the first moon of that planet. Now Cassiopeia, that's a constellation, but is it also a star, a solar system?
I think so. That's why it's called 4 would be the gas giant, A would be the first moon in that whatever moon belt system there is.
All right, we got a bird-like creature flying there too,
and these creatures here are really, really cool. They sort of look like rocks. If you're looking down at them from above, I would imagine that they're fairly hard to spot. They look like some kind of armless crab that just walks around and bottom feeds off of the rocks. That's kind of cool.
Their eyes are really weird.
I think that I do not think that's their eyes.
Or is that the back of them?
Projectiles.
It looks a little bit like the back of them, because if you look at the one on the left, is he staring up at the sky for no reason, or is the other side of his head the head and he's staring at the ground looking for food?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I look at it. I could be wrong though. They could have just gigantic, weird looking eyeballs and move in that direction. So yeah,
or maybe they're just gigantic fart jets that they can use as like a built-in jetpack and fly away if they feel threatened.
Yep. And that's the cool thing about, like, they've clearly gone to a big extent of creating all kinds of different creatures, all kinds of different things. Here we have another scene where it's like they've got some really cool tall creatures that can meander around and walk around the world. That's cool. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's I think we're going to see a diversity in creatures that we haven't really seen in a Bethesda game before. And again, there are more diversity in, No Man's Sky type creatures, but not all those creatures are, like, not all of them look good.
Right. Yes. Yeah, but if they used, if like you said, if they used some sort of procedural generation, but then hand selected like the ones that look the most realistic, the ones that work the best, and filtered it down that way. So procedurally generated but curated. That's really good. I think that's a good way of creating a large amount of biodiversity without having to handcraft everything.
He did mention in the kind of funny one that there is one or two notable hostile creatures in the universe. So in this universe, in this galaxy, there are one or two types of creatures that are found on multiple worlds that are extraordinarily dangerous, and you'll come across an area where there's just a bunch of dead, like, herbivores type creatures, and that something's up and that you might want to get out of there.
I wonder if there's realistic sort of interactions between the creatures. Like if you have a carnivore creature that hunts the herbivores, say, but it only attacks when it's actually hungry. Like in most games, when you have, creatures that are like, they have an aggression level and they just attack everything else indiscriminately, but then they don't. That always is a little immersion breaking.
Yeah, it's like they've done that in MMOs for the longest time, where it's like, and they even had that. So they tried to create a system like this where it was like a diversity type thing, but because they didn't time in like timers into like wolves, the wolf would just run from rabbit to rabbit to rabbit to rabbit, just killing them all.
Just killing them and leaving dead rabbits everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what you have to do is you have to add this kind of timer where it's like, he has killed a rabbit. He should then take the rabbit, or eat the rabbit.
Yeah, eat it or take it back to its den.
Yeah, take it back to its den, then sit there with it for 12 hours or something like that before he goes hunting again. It's like that's the system, and that's the system that was used in Storybricks for the new EverQuest game that ended up getting shut down and put into a Russian hard asset vault. I'm not joking. That's literally what happened to it. There's an amazing piece of technology that gives every creature in the world a series of like things that they want, but that associates those things that they want with certain danger levels. Like all NPCs in the world, all like human NPCs in the world want gold. Who has gold? Monsters have gold, but monsters are also monsters. So they would avoid the monsters unless they felt like they could, take advantage of it.
Yeah, so like a risk assessment thing. Yeah, that's really cool because
And what would happen is that packs of villagers would then get together and they would go mob other monsters in order to get what they wanted, which was gold that they would then take back, use to buy, alcohol and other stuff like that, and food, and then their happiness levels would go up, and then they would walk around town being happy, and before they then was not so happy, and then they had to go back to their normal jobs, but again thinking about like, well, if we just killed that monster. So it's like stuff like that. I don't know if we're going to get that in here. I really hope that a clever modder can mod that in. If it's not,
I think there are even because something like that takes a lot of There's a lot of processing power required for that.
There is, but you also got to remember that they do have that in a lot of their other games in a very rudimentary way.
Yeah, sure, but I'm just saying there's even ways you could make it more efficient and sort of fake it a little bit with it still feeling realistic to the player. Like, you're not likely to follow a wolf through its entire life and see how it behaves, but even if it's like, oh, it's at this time of day, the wolf is probably hungry, and so maybe it attacks and kills one rabbit. And anyway, we're getting off into the weeds.
Yeah.
I want creatures I can pet, potentially creatures I can tame. Who knows? Maybe I can create like some sort of like animal husbandry thing interplanetarily.
Well, we know that animal interactions are baked in. So there's if you take alien DNA, there's a way that you can pacify some creatures, and I think that we're probably going to have more of that coming down the road as more DLC drops for this game. They have so much DLC planned for this. The first one's already been announced. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Now that we have the technology to create it. From the rocks at your feet to the mountains in the distance, to the people and creatures that live in these worlds. That isn't just a backdrop. That moon is actually there orbiting the planet. Yes, you can visit it too.
Really cool system that they've done with like the actual realistic orbiting and
our next generation
time of day and stuff.
Real-time
of the
global
planets.
illumination to light the world based on the type of star and the makeup of.
So this is basically confirmed to be Earth.
This is Earth.
You can go to Earth. You can land on Earth. Earth is extremely inhospitable. From what we can gather, basically, like something happened that totally destroyed Earth, and then like tsunamis and stuff like that just basically like wiped the planet clean of pretty much everything that there was. There is apparently several Easter eggs. I expect that we'll be able to visit some ruins that belongs to a company called Bethesda at some point in the game.
That would be
Earth.
And I'm even wondering if it would be cool if they put in as an Easter egg like the entire map of Fallout 4 or something, like just in where it would be located. I can just see exploring like destroyed Earth and coming across these kinds of landmarks. It's going to invoke some pathos for sure.
I am told that you will be able to replicate an iconic scene with a certain statue buried in the sand. That you will be able to replicate that scene.
It wouldn't be Bethesda if they didn't include that. Yeah.
I'm told that that's there. I don't know if that's true. That's not from a direct source. So that's from a guy who says he talked to a guy. But again, it's like if we can land on Earth, I suspect that there'll be a handful of things that we can go see.
Of the planet's atmosphere. We also have an all-new animation system.
So the animation system is big. This is the Aurora.
You can play it in third person.
That's what it's called, the Aurora animation system. And
you can play it in first person.
Way better than what they had previously.
It needed an overhaul, and we had many podcasts where we discussed the upgrades to the. So, is it the same engine? Technically, yes. If you consider it the same car after you've replaced 80% of it, then this is the same engine. It's like I just pulled that 80% number out of thin air, but it's a massive upgrade to the engine that they did use for Fallout 4 and Skyrim and Fallout 76.
Surveys, when you fully survey a planet, that is valuable information that you can sell to certain people. So there's lots of homesteaders, corporations, companies that are looking for fully scanned systems in which they can set up shop in or do some kind of expansion, or just again in the case of homesteaders that they can just fly to and live in.
Yeah.
And so you are, as an explorer, you're the person who's blazing the trail to some of these planets. So you're arriving on a planet. There is a total survey potential that you can get if you survey an entire planet, so that people know what is there for the most part. then you can sell that. So we can see here we've got flora, fauna, resource types. At the bottom we can scan, we can set up an outpost, we can do a surface map, we check out the surface map. Of course there's a photo mode because why not? That's all in game. So that's all there. We see a little bit more higher details on habitable systems. The more habitable a system is, the more info we kind of get on that down at the bottom left. So yeah, that's all very cool.
Exploration and rewarding it, but you do explore differently in this game, given its scale.
Looking around and all that kind of stuff.
That usually involves exploring an area you've landed in.
I wonder what it takes to survey 100%.
You can collect resources.
I think you have to travel a fair bit
do a mission,
to get like
maybe
enough
even
map
stumble
layout,
upon
and then you have
something
to find
unexpected.
all of the things on the planet that are needing to be scanned, such as all flora and fauna, so that you know.
So they were saying he had scanned 0 of everything, but it still said 44%.
44%. So I suspect that's the mapping. So he's mapped a fair bit of it. He just hasn't scanned anything yet. And again, that makes sense because you want to get, when you're surveying an area, you want to get, of course, the map. That's one aspect of it. You want to get the fauna, the creatures of the planet. You want to get the flora so that you know for sure whether or not you've landed on a planet that maybe everything is on a cob. And if it is, then you need to get out of there ASAP. It's not good. You can't stay there.
Yeah.
So there are locations like this that he's discovering. This isn't procedurally generated here. This is a handcrafted experience put on this planet for you to discover, go through, find stuff out about. The planet itself, the location of this thing, it might appear static on the planet, but the planet might change for you or me playing different games, loading up this particular planet. For you, this might be a tropical location. For other people, it might be an alpine. That's, again, not a question that we've had answered perfectly, but
right. I was just going to say, is that confirmed or is that kind of
that is right now we're taking that on assumptions made by statements because nobody's asked the right question.
Well, and because the question I would be asking is, what does procedurally generated mean? Does it mean your game is making it as you play, or does it mean you procedurally generated a crap ton of stuff and then kind of curated it and set it in place?
Yeah. So I think what we're expecting to have here is this procedurally created thing that the planets are all like that, but locations like this have been curated so that you have, so that you could send people, say, hey man, have you gone to this planet and you've discovered the ancient mining facility there? I think that's still a thing because I think that makes sense, right? Like that would knit your experience and my experience together for the most part. But then I say, and did you check out the cave that was just around the corner? No, I didn't have a cave around the corner. I had one of those giant monster types that just ate my face as soon as I got near it. Oh, I didn't have that. That's what would make the experience of sharing the game better, because the planets are all different, but the experiences that lead you to those planets are the same. So that's kind of where it's like, to me, that makes a lot of sense.
And this game, you know what this game really needs is, eventually anyway, is the ability to share the universe with your friends and do multiplayer.
Maybe eventually, we'll see. Like, they have that tech now, so we'll see.
So it looks like this is kind of a lower gravity planet. Yeah,
this is a little bit lower gravity. It's a moon, so a little less gravity. And the gunplay looks good. I've been hearing some people complain, but those complaints versus the first initial showing, way lower. Like, just
right,
like hugely lower. People are seeing this and they're going, "Oh yeah, this is actually really good. This looks really solid. I like this. Like where this is going."
Yeah, just watching that hand. Oh, I missed what happened there.
So he set off a bomb, but over on the left there, you see that ballistic skill. 5 out of 20 kill 20 enemies with a ballistic weapon. So he's leveling up ballistic weapons as he's using them. That experience.
I like this kind of level up system. I like that. Yes, where you it increases your skills in the stuff that you actually do in the game, rather than just arbitrarily putting points into stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think there is some of that point. There probably will be some of that point distribution, but yes, when
you level up things and then you unlock badges into those things as you go. So you do have to. You can't just unlock all of the badges. You farm a bunch of experience and then you're just going to unlock all of the badges in one tree. It's like you actually have to progress through those. So so power leveling, like instant leveling, it's not really as it's not as good. It's not rewarding. What you want to do is you want to start leaning your character towards a certain play style and then like heavily leaning into that. That seems to be what they're saying.
I'm curious to see how good the stealth and cover based play is.
So he's got credits, he's got ammo cartridge, and he's got something called the Equinox. So I'm going to go on a limb and say is a weapon.
Probably
a laser.
We do love stuff and all of the items.
So the stuff, again...
Cola in a pack, in a squeezy pack.
Yeah, I like that Tetra Pak. Oh my gosh.
Pick
Ammo
everything
is, at least on this difficulty, weighs nothing.
up,
Good
and you can
thing
view
to point out.
And what's with the orange Starbucks cup? That's
all
funny.
that
I just
in
find that
your
funny.
data menu.
I don't think he opens it. So, so here again, we've got the survey amount, the planet. We've got just a ton of information. He's Captain Howard, level 11. He's got Class A, Crew 2, so he's using a Class A ship. He's got 2 crew members. His hull is up to snuff. So that means that as you land, I think, and this is a little speculation on my part, if you get to a planet and you've gotten into some space damage, like space fighting, and you land and your hull is down to 20-30%, maybe you can have your crew working on repairing your hull as you go out and explore the planet. That's a really nice touch for me. Like that is like, wow, that's a really cool way.
I hope so, because in things like having them, like if you set up a mining camp where people can, where robots or your crew or people can gather the resources for you rather than having to laser 1,000 rocks. No.
I mean employees, right?
It'd be like
that's what EA does to amateur athletes, right. Sorry, yes,
no,
of course.
No, not that. No, not like that. Like people that work there and are paid
employees
a reasonably good wage and have a happy life.
That's based off of a percentage of what they make at the place. So yeah, that's good.
So anyway, I wonder if your spacesuit takes damage when you're in combat or something like that.
I don't think it does because I don't see any notifications on your armor, but it could just be in a different window. We are seeing health here, so
yeah. Well, it's almost like I think almost armor would be you could have an armored spacesuit, but it's almost like if you get a hole in your helmet, that's a big problem, and maybe you can't visit certain areas. Maybe it's not in the base game, but that's a good idea for an immersion mod, I think.
I know that there are hostiles. So Todd Howard in not this last interview, but the one before that, he did talk about how there are weather effects on planets that will kill you if you don't find shelter. So there is this idea that you have to, if you're on a planet and it starts raining acid or doing a high-speed dust storm in which the particles are flying at incredible speeds, you have to GTFO so fast. But
I would imagine there has to be different kinds of environmental suits that you can get.
Yes, I'm sure that's a whole upgrade path there. Obviously, you can customize your armor and get different armor types. Yes, that is a very. We've seen that on multiple things. We've seen them wearing different armor. So yes,
this is the hub for everything you're doing, from your skills to your ship, your missions, and your inventory.
Yeah, that's going to be a significant part of the game here. Here and this is the one I wanted to show. So we've got Constellation spacesuits.
Yeah.
Constellation pack. We've got minor utility outfit, apparel. So we've got spacesuits and apparel. So we see here that these are actually categories. The categories, I don't know if it's because what we're seeing here. So you see it, the refined Eon weapons. Under weapons, it says 8. Under spacesuits, it says 4. Under helmets, it says 3. But it's listing the top one, so that's probably the one that you are currently wearing. And then it's notifying you that you have 3, in total.
3 total, yeah.
Category.
Yeah.
So apparel is going to be pretty big. I think that's all. That what we're seeing here is really, really good information. So we've got aid, ammo packs, apparel. Helmets are going to be different than your spacesuits, so you get to mix and match your helmets. You get to mix and match stuff. I really hope that we're going to get a spacesuit that looks like that. Some of the Nuka-Cola pinups that we've had, like that would be a hilarious callback. That would be amazing. If not, the modders are going to make it real fast. So yeah, so this is your inventory system as far as hard stuff goes. You do have a limit. Mass down at the bottom right, that's your weight. Credits are on the left. I do wonder if mass changes as you go from different planet to planet. So is it just going to be you're limited to?
No, that's why they call it mass instead of weight.
Yeah.
The weight would change as the gravity changes, but the mass stays the same. Yeah. But could you carry more if there's less? If the gravity is lighter, as the gravity changes, that second number, like it says 97 out of 145, maybe on certain planets it's 97 out of 300. Okay, so and then it said 8. So he opened weapons, and there's 8 weapons here. Yeah.
Now, again, if he had more, he would have to scroll down, I think. But we can see that he's got a Razorback, he's got mag shear, he's got a cutter, he's got machine gun type.
And I kind of like this minimalist UI look.
Yeah, it's very clean. It's very sharp.
It is. It's not very colorful, and at first I was like, there's a lot of gray and white in this. But I think it actually works well because it's clean. You'll immediately be able to see.
I'm hoping that there'll be a mod, if it's not already in the game, because they did talk about different quality levels. I am hoping that we will have standard items will be gray, then green, blue, purple, legendary orange. I really like those colors. They've talked about rarity. I don't know in what fashion that's going to show up, but they have talked about rarity on more than one occasion.
Maybe it is color, and these are all just common items.
He's still really early in the game, so that is a very good question. I don't know if it's maybe in a different window. We don't know if the rarity he meant, what he means in Skyrim, where there's a sword, but then there's also named swords, right? So you might have a refined Eon, but do you have the minor special refined Eon that you pick up at one location after killing a particular boss?
Refined might be the rarity or level then.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a level, or sometimes those are separate. Sometimes there's
so we
quality and rarity.
See it here. We are seeing advanced, modified, refined, specialized. So those could be the terms. We don't know yet. That's one thing that we're going to have to figure out with a little bit more info.
Detail in
the weapons all look really great.
They do.
They all look like the models are really, really cool, really, really sharp, and they look really
from all of your weapons to.
So here's his spacesuits that he had. Going through the different spacesuits, as you can see, some are more armored than others. And the helmet doesn't change as he goes.
Oh yeah, and here's what I was talking about earlier. The different thermal, elemental things: thermal, airborne, radiation, corrosion. Yeah, and also looks like what your damage rating. So physical damage protection, energy weapon protection, and EM. So electromagnetic, I guess.
Yeah, and so this
awesome.
This is really good to know because this is like
two.
Oh, I missed that helmet scene. I don't want to.
Meat in a bag.
Meat in a bag.
Midnight Delight. Oh my gosh. Oh, there's a dirty joke in there somewhere. Midnight Delight. That's the meat in a bag.
Yep. I could say stuff, but I'm gonna try to avoid it.
That'll make a good sandwich.
Alien jerky,
yes.
orange juice of transcendence, patty melt, syntho meat steak.
They have a lot of fun coming up with food for their games.
This is gonna be hard to replicate some of these recipes. I mean, some of these recipes are gonna be very easy. The patty melt. Oh, this one's gonna be really hard. Oh, I don't know how I'm gonna do this one recipe. Toast.
Oh, gee.
Deep dive on that, guys. We got a deep dive coming on that. Trilobites. That's going to be hilarious. Trilobites. That's going to be... I'm going to have fun with this food stuff. I might do some of this food stuff a little sooner. So, snack made from a smattering of available ingredients. That's what the Midnight Delight is. The orange juice, rumored to be the most refreshing orange juice in all of the settled systems.
Wow.
Orange juice transcendence.
Advanced nutrition formulated for health. That's what it says. It looks like the most boring orange juice in the settled systems.
But it has the word health. It must be good.
Look at this, though. They're using plastic straws.
That's not a plastic straw. That is a straw that is made out of a carb type material that once you finish drinking the juice, you can just snack on that straw. You just
eat the straw and the pack that it
and the pack too, most likely. Yep, that would
beautiful.
So
they have really utensils like that already. That's made of like pressed something or the other. I don't remember exactly, but yeah.
Yeah, how filthy does that get during shipping, though? All right,
well, we'll see.
Just obsess over the
we got the steak, patty melt,
details.
Toast.
It's
not even in a package. Bread. You're just carrying it in your pocket.
Buttered or jellied. This could be eaten as is in a pinch.
Thank you for that description. Trilobites. Are they actual trilobites?
They are.
Oh my gosh!
Trilobites.
They look like tiny little shrimps.
Sautéed and served with whipped butter.
Beautiful. Ugh.
I don't know how I'm going to do that recipe.
I knew it. Trilobites are aliens. They came from another planet. That's what happened.
When you're done exploring, you can walk back or fast travel to your ship. We have companions and crew you can take with you.
It's a robot friend.
Vasco here back at my ship.
Welcome back, Captain Howard.
And he can even say your name.
How many Captain Bleep faces and Captain Bleep this and Bleep that are there going to be?
It's going to be a lot. It's going to be great.
Captain
We're going to have so many great names. We're gonna. So yeah, we'll cover that name list. It was pretty easy to get last time in Fallout 4, so hopefully we'll be able to.
But is it even an AI voice that could say anything that you type in?
Possibly. I that is obviously the next step, but pronunciation is kind of like important to nail. But because he already has a robotic voice, that might be, I don't know, they might have a phonetic system when you're telling him your name, so you can actually get him to sound out what you want him to say. That might be a thing that we get. I don't know yet, but it might be.
That would be cool. It reminds me of like the technology they use for those court reporters or whatever. They use like a phonetic machine instead.
Has a slightly retro and analog touch. A bit of lo-fi rather than
I like this. I like how the screens look. I like how...
used, worn, and lived in.
Don't use.
What's the plan, Captain?
The tape with the don't use on the helmet. Just like working in retail.
Yeah, so this is how we're looking at planets. So this is the planet we were just on.
This is a very cool view.
Yeah, so this is, and again, it's like this is showing us where we just were.
Yeah.
You get the survey type, you get the rock type, you get the gravity type. And again, it's like how much of the world is explorable? Is it all of it? Is it part of it? Is it like, I don't know. We'll see. Seems to be that they've got two, outposts there. Got a civilian outpost, got an industrial outpost. We had that abandoned mining outpost. So I don't know if that's one of these locations, but the locations here so that you can kind of land near them. That makes sense, but it would also make sense if you just had an enormous world to explore as well. And that is really exciting for me as a concept. But how will that play out? I don't know. Also, the water is radioactive here.
Probably lots that's not worth exploring. And so that's why they have these systems to tell you, how worth it is it to go to this planet. if you just land on the far side of it where there's nothing. Now it does look, you're saying, are there different biomes within the same planet? It does look like we've got polar ice caps here, like very large ones, so it's icier and snowier up at the poles at both poles, and then a little more temperate in the middle with like actual liquid water oceans. So that suggests to me that there's probably different biome zones within at least some of the planets.
You can see all of its info and resources. You can choose a landing spot or fast travel to known locations.
There we go, yeah. So that makes
further,
a lot of sense.
You can view all the planets in the system. Obviously, the game is big, and it's here you can see planets that have key locations, missions, or life on them, versus the many planets that are barren but resource-heavy. Zoom out even further to see all the systems in this part of the galaxy. Here, you can plot a course to ones that are light years away. This uses your ship's grav drive to fold space.
This brings me
and
back
jump
to
these
StarCon.
systems. And you will need to upgrade your ship and skills if you want to jump.
You got to remember,
the
that's
distant
the
ones.
game's.
But for
that
now,
one and
we'll plot a course to the Alpha Centauri system.
What was that old
where
one?
we can find the city
Like the
of
really,
New
really
Atlantis.
old one? The one that every space game is based off of these days?
I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but even playing Star Control 2 with the massive amounts of stars, and you could fly anywhere if you had enough
I think
fuel.
it's Star Control. I think that's the one that's...
Is that the one you're thinking of? Yeah.
Yeah. That was the one where it's like the stars were pixels.
Scan complete.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Cleared for landing at New Atlantis.
So Atlantis is going to be absolutely massive.
Art, crowds, and quests.
Full of real characters that are going about their day-to-day lives.
It's paralyzing if you really stop and think about it.
But
Kaffa Brew Coffee.
It's also where your adventure with Constellation begins.
So again, the question of whether or not the NPCs are going to be fully alive is a big question, and it's a big question for people like me, who I have always wanted, a world that's living and breathing, that had, like, every NPC has a home that they go back to. And this is the thing that I loved about Skyrim probably the most, is that people did go back to their homes at night. Most people went to their homes and were in their beds, and that made sense and that felt real. I hate the games where it's like, this woodcutter has been cutting the same tree for 20 years.
That's an important tree.
20 years.
The immortal woodcutter.
Cutting this one tree, and they're like, "Oh, better cut this tree so I can go home and provide wood for my family." It's like, you don't have a home. You don't have a family.
Yeah, it's all an illusion. Well, I hope so. I mean, they did have those systems in Skyrim, and I can't remember even if Fallout 4 had that kind of thing in the cities. But
one of the first things I'm going to do when I get to New Atlantis is I'm going to pick a random NPC, and I'm going to
follow them around.
And I'm going to see what they do, and I'm going to see where they go, and I'm going to see if they do anything interesting. And if I can do that, I did that in Cyberpunk. This was one of my greatest letdowns in Cyberpunk. I picked an NPC. I started to follow them, and they phased out of existence.
Oh, Cyberpunk faked it. Yeah, Cyberpunk just totally faked it.
Yeah, just like, and it was like, They
didn't even fake it. It was just random NPCs walking in the street. They don't have places that they live.
Yeah.
They don't have a house you can visit.
And I turned around, and I tried to follow another one. I turned around, and like, as soon as they got out of my like visual line of sight, they just vanished, and then they were replaced with a different NPC walking in a different direction who had also materialized out of nowhere. It's like, I hate stuff like that. I hope that's not the case here. I don't think it's the case here, but we'll see. No promises, obviously. Yeah. So one thing I'd like to bring up here is how much better the NPCs look, like the characters in the game look. Like, we'll pause it here. It's like her face looks so much better than it did originally, and it wasn't a whole lot of difference. It's a lot of lighting, it's some shading. Those things are better.
Like an earlier trailer. Yeah.
In the previous time that we saw this game, in the first trailer that we saw, this character looked like all Bethesda characters do, she had this very blocky, very weird face that if you saw the face on a real person, you'd kind of like, recoil in horror because there's something clearly wrong with the face. And this is something that's always happened in Bethesda games. You go back to any of the games, very few faces and heads look normal, look like they were, really like smoothly done. And it's not that the engine can't do it. We know that the engine can do it because modders have been doing it since like basically Oblivion. In Skyrim and in Fallout 4, you have these like beautiful face mods where the characters go from this horrifying, blocky, weird to just this very fine looking. Sometimes, obviously you have the like the supermodel looks, but oftentimes it's just they look cleaner, they look nicer, they look like most normal people look like. Mm-hmm. And that's what the advancement has been. And part of me wonders if they haven't brought in some of those modders who used to do some of those big face mods, or at least copied their style, because this looks like, if you compare the original picture of this character to this one here, you have this completely, she looks smooth, she looks nice, she looks really cute, versus the original character, which looked just square and blocky as all get out. So we see it here in the player's character, we see it in the NPC characters, like we're seeing it in everybody. So this also, just backing up here, this also showcases here, this is the first part of the game. So at first, a lot of people thought we were starting off on that on the first planet that we saw in the first trailer, over a year ago. Is like we saw the character arriving on a planet and engaging some pirates and stuff like that. People thought that's where we encountered this thing. Actually, it's here. You're starting your game out as a miner, with a pickaxe kind of miner, not the other kind, where you're going down into the depths of this planet and you're mining, and you come across this weird thing. So this is the first. This is some of the first scenes that we're going to see. So you're going to start yourself off inside the mining facility. You're going to generate your character, or you're going to have this scene first, then you're going to generate your character. So we're not quite sure how that lines up, but I think
when he touches this, could you just play that again for a quick sec? Okay.
There is.
We don't know what happens in that scene.
Do you see this face? It's not a face, it's a head. So it's a head of a creature, or like an alien type. Like his chest is down near the bottom. In the center of the screen is his head. He's looking to the screen's right hand side. Missed it there. I'm gonna try and get that again, because this is like super, like really, really important here. I saw this originally, and when going through it in slow motion. See if I can slow it down. So just gonna slow it down, and Moon, you probably want to mute this now because it's doing the super slow talk. So he touches this thing, and here we've got this vision, and it's very, there it is, right there.
I see it. Yeah, I see it.
So there's this like very alien-esque head on a bit of a torso. I'm going to turn this back to normal time now so we can unmute it. And it's there, and it's a frame or two back, but there's this clear overlord type thing looking, or creature that's has this very like overlordy type feeling to it, and it looks like, wow, what is this thing? What is this creature? What is he doing here? So that, I think that's who the artifact is either warning us about them, or this is the intelligence reaching out to communicate with us.
That's interesting. I'm curious to find out which direction that goes. I hope it doesn't go in the direction of, touching this artifact imbues the player character with this magical power that nobody else has, and then they go in that direction. I
want to point out, in science, there's one of the most common terms in science is any sufficiently advanced science or technology appears as magic to people who do not understand it.
Yeah, I just mean that. I just mean the whole trope of our player character is the chosen one again.
I mean, it's sort of like it's a common running theme, and in comparison to what this kind of gives me really big vibes on is Mass Effect, right? And Mass Effect was very much, it had this exact same start, and I think that's cool. I actually like that idea because Mass Effect never really chased down that path. They were going to, and if you listen to some of the really early Mass Effect interviews, I know so much about what Mass Effect was originally going to be. So in Mass Effect, there was originally going to be a dark matter, dark energy type storyline where you tapped into this dark power and you had the ability to. That's what a lot of the players' initial abilities were all based off of. Is you were able to do things that not many other people could because you were harnessing this power. There was a mission with Tali in the second game where there's a bunch of allusions to this, not allusions, references to this power, and that was some of the stuff that was saved from the cutting room floor when they axed most of this dark magic type. It felt like you were playing, a Sith essentially. And that's where that came from. So I think we're getting something like that here. Is this creature trying to communicate with us, or is he the harbinger of doom that's going to come and lead an army of aliens to kind of destroy the galaxy? Because again, in terms of science fiction, the Dark Forest theory is quite strong. So the Dark Forest theory is that the minute that you encounter other intelligent life that you do not have immediate and total dominion over, you crush them. And so is that what's going to happen here? That's kind of, a very popular theory. The Dark Forest stuff is really big. We're actually getting a TV show based off of the book, The Dark Forest. So we'll see kind of where that goes. But I think that's the setup. I think that's the thing. Either this is a savior type creature or civilization that's reaching out to be like, hey, you have to be careful. Maybe it's a test to see if humanity is worth integrating into some kind of multi-dimensional or multi-galaxy type empire, because it's kind of clear that we have most of the galaxy to ourselves, or at least for now that seems to be what it is. Or if this is a long dead progenitor race, who knows?
Depending on how much of the galaxy humanity has actually expanded to. 1,000 planets, I mean, that could be, is that 1,000 planets across the whole galaxy, or is that confined to, a smaller space? Or maybe we expand to some of those, maybe that radius expands as the game progresses because we discover, there's something out over there. And
yeah.
Look at how it's coming together. That means there's a set built by an intelligence outside the settled systems.
It's definitely
not impressed by the acting, but
well, anyway, I mean, it's Bethesda acting. I mean, it's
look how it's coming together. That means there's a set.
The characters, like I said, they all look way better.
They look way better. The animations are better than And actually, I'm going to focus in on the hair here. Actually, if you could play it. Just want to see how the hair.
And Sarah Morgan's protege.
The hair looks
Walter.
Pretty good.
Yeah, the hair physics looks decent enough.
Hair physics is something that almost every single studio struggles with. There's a handful of them that focus on it, and they make really, really, really cool stuff. But it's also somewhat unrealistic, and it doesn't move the way that it should, or it's always flowing and gorgeous, spectacular Thor-like fashion. It's eventually
it's a thing where you just. I mean, yes, it's really difficult. We talked. I can't remember where we talked about this, but we talked about it recently, and
anything goes.
It's one of those things where you just kind of need to get it good enough.
Yeah.
Sam Cove, the former space cowboy.
Doesn't have to be 100% realistic.
You know what I hate about these pirates? Completely resistant to my otherwise irresistible charm.
I feel like that guy's going to be a fun guy to hang out with.
This is a sad scene. So this also confirms something here. A lot of people were asking about this is are there kids in the game? Because up till now, I believe this is our only photo of an actual kid. I could be wrong on that, but
I imagine in the major cities, where people have colonized, the big protected cities is probably where you'll find child NPCs. But when you're out in the, unless there might be cases where, like, oh, there's some child lost in space somewhere or something. But I imagine you're not going to see a lot of children while you're just out exploring, kind of thing.
Well, be on the lookout for refrigerators. You might find a child in a refrigerator.
Yeah.
That might be a thing. Anyways, here we have Graves.
That's always bugged me. That scene makes no sense, but anyway, go ahead.
Adventures for you to uncover.
So the monsters, they look
if really
if we're comparing these monsters to No Man's Sky, they look better. Like, just on the get-go, they look better. And I can imagine that one of the things that I can strongly imagine is that they will be on the lookout for modders who make more interesting alien-type characters. And I wouldn't be surprised if they started to integrate some of those designs into the main thing by contacting them and bringing, hiring them or, like, paying for their work or something like that. It would be a smart move. Like, it would be a real smart move to just, every time there's a major DLC, there's 50 new alien species that have different rigs and different motions and all that kind of stuff, and that are just different and unique and cool. And, that would just be awesome. And of course, we got this, I think, is one of the creatures that is going to be one of the big bad guys who is not big bad guys like a main villain.
But I want to pet it.
Not that. Yeah. I think this is the creature, one of the creatures that is found on multiple worlds and is a, like, when you're playing an actual game where you're trying to, like, Iron Man it, or you're playing on, like, the harder difficulty, this is what makes you go, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap.
Is it, maybe it's a devourer of worlds?
Kind of like that. So it's like, it's got, what is it, 6 limbs? It's got 6 limbs. It's
for all the extra hugging.
Destroys something that looks scary in and of itself. So yeah, I think this is one of the creatures, because with this, you can imagine this thing running up a wall or clinging to the ceiling or doing other crazy stuff like that. It's small enough that it could like go through doors, that it could chase. Yeah, I think this is one of the big creatures that we were kind of chatting about from the podcast that Todd Howard just did. So now the main cities, the big question is, how much are we going to be able to explore? How much of those buildings are something that we can get into? What is going on there? All that kind of stuff. This is the Vanguard, which is an interesting structure. This is, if you look this up again, to Mass Effect 2, where you erect the monument to the first Normandy. This is almost identical. Now,
I think this is a common thing, though. Like, this is something that we do now with vessels and old planes and stuff.
Exactly. So I say that, but you have to remember that we've seen similar things in both Star Trek and also in real life. This is a common way to showcase some kind of a flying ship. Like, so it may just be common design concepts and not a direct nod to, but it is kind of interesting to have that. Plus,
well, the design in the background with the planet and the light, I don't know. That's kind of reminds me of Mass Effect for some reason. But I mean, there might be some nods here and there. There's probably going to be some subtle references and nods to other, sci-fi games and that kind of thing.
New Atlantis isn't the only city with.
Whoa. Hello,
beautiful,
mantis flower.
hilarious creature. I can imagine somebody seeing that and go, "Wow, look at the pretty flower!" And they run over and they're trying to like loot the flower, and they're like, "Why isn't this looting?" And then, snap, mantis claws.
Yes.
And that flower is not a.
It's gonna suck your face off.
Yeah, it's gonna suck your face off. This is also interesting that this is on New Atlantis.
Yes.
So we have the city screen in the background there.
Or this might not be dangerous at all.
It might not be dangerous at all. It might be totally friendly. Those gigantic forceps, with the giant like serrated claws. That might be for grooming itself and doing flower picking. I mean, it's highly unrealistic, but I mean, it could.
Well, or it's used for hunting, but I mean, how? It's hard to get an idea of scale here with it so far in the foreground. There's another one in the sort of mid-ground among the rocks. Mm-hmm. So it looks like these aren't too big, right? It looks probably like.
I think they're probably
3-4 feet
at least. Tall. No, they're bigger than that, because I think the perspective here we're seeing is like first person, so that means this thing's at least 7 to 8 feet tall, like at the very least.
I don't think this is a first person shot. I think this is just the camera.
Hey, maybe I don't know. We'll see.
In any case,
But in any case, we do get kind of an aspect of the city. It's not. This isn't Coruscant. This isn't a planet-wide city. This is a city on an island that's surrounded by other islands. So humanity is really, like, I would say they're stretched thin. Humanity is not a tall empire right now. It's a wide empire. They're scattered all over the place.
Well, yeah. The idea of a planet-sized city, I mean, that's a lot of people and infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, that's like,
I just don't think like
any planet-wide city. You're looking at like populations in and around like the 20 to 40 billion as a start. Like that's really small numbers as far as like a big planet goes. I hate people who like they showcase Coruscant and they're like, oh yeah, there's like 10 billion people there. It's like there's almost 10 billion people on this planet, and we don't even have it even remotely.
And look at how much empty space we have on Earth. Yeah. Anyway,
it's just kind of cool to see that we're not dealing with a super tall empire for humanity. This also opens the door to a lot of new planets in the future through expansions and DLCs and stuff like that. We might be seeing, I'm positive there's got to be some, like Nar Shaddaa kind of like criminal controlled, worlds where, it's just run by a crime lord. It's like, I can't wait till we see that. If we do at some point in the future, it would be really interesting to see where that goes from there, and to see if we're going to ever get those tools to make procedural worlds through Bethesda's own tech. It'll be interesting if that ever gets released as a modding tool, and
or a creature maker. Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, or creature maker, whatever. Like
so that was just a panning camera, so that creature was not huge.
Mars to this day serves as the largest
so
mining
Mars,
for the United
that's going to be really cool. I wonder. This is I really wonder if we're gonna find the alien face runes on Mars in this game. That's gonna be so cool if they add that in as like this like subtle nod to a very popular conspiracy theory. I love this.
Without incident.
Since incident, 11 hours since the most recent safety incident.
That's a great track record.
Yeah. And then we have, going right back to this, we have basically what you feel is like an old Fallout or a Fallout-esque type world.
Space Western!
I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's a very Bethesda thing, very Fallout thing, and I think like a Space Western is... I mean, you look at the popularity of Star Wars, or the, that has a lot of Western vibes, and also, of course, Firefly.
I do hope that we are going to see an absolute metric ton of shops and stores and places that you can, because that's the one thing that I always kind of got annoyed with is like at some point you just run out of stuff to buy because there's just nothing cool to buy essentially. I really hope that there are shops that have like, you know, hidden gems in them. I love hidden gem stores where it's like you're going through a store and you find like the holy grail of items just in some backwater store somewhere, and it costs you basically everything you own. I love stuff like that. I hope they add a lot of that to the universe.
Or you just wait till night and then lockpick and then steal it. Yeah.
There's some really cool creatures in the background shot here. I want to show this.
But a reason to keep collecting money and resources. It's the common problem in RPGs like this is that you've just got so much money and nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So I wonder if this thing hanging here is it a sculpture or is it some kind of weird fossil that they have found? I find
it's kind of blocky, so I'm gonna go with sculpture.
I'm also gonna go with sculpture, yeah, because like just the whole texture
I'm gonna
of
go
it.
out on the limb and say I think this is a mystical creature, the fossil that they found, and that will get it's somehow key to the plot.
Well, it could be based off of a fossil or something they found.
This definitely isn't the job for you.
The angles of the thing looks very angular, you know.
And we got our club. We got our dance club with dancing aliens.
Wow, these outfits.
What do you?
The guy in the middle looks like a dude in a costume. The dude on the right looks like a dude in a costume. The one on the left looks like a girl in a costume. So
okay, that's what I meant. They're humans in
hip
costume.
to waist ratio.
Yeah, the hip to waist ratio on this clearly.
Yes, I'm aware of that. I just meant humans in costumes, not actual aliens. But yeah, that's interesting. We haven't really seen any intelligent aliens in this yet. Like we've seen all kinds of alien creatures, but other than that, whatever it was, you know, creature that we were talking about earlier that you see with that energy flash. You know, we haven't seen anything that looks sentient or intelligent. What's this guy raising the roof? Oh no, he's on. I just realized he's on his knees. I'm thinking here he's doing this dance move with his hands. But
but this does look like a lot like Steve Harvey. Yeah.
Steve Harvey.
Yeah, that's the guy. Looks a lot like Steve Harvey.
Up and ground up by Neon. Try not to get you.
So Neon murders basically like whatever's
self-killed. All right.
So that's gonna be an interesting place. Like I said, there is Neon, but it's not like as. So when I think like it's obviously like a crime lord city, but it's not like a hyper densely packed one with like towering buildings that go from the stratosphere to the Earth's.
This shot right here looks very Fallout. Just it's very retro 50s kind of vibe. The woman's hair. It's pink, but it's got that 50s curl.
Shall be made dust in time. This is the face of a brave runner here to challenge the
red run.
So some sort
mile run.
Some sort
just
of
run.
Race.
Nah, I think it's
completely fair rules and nothing that's going to kill you if you don't.
I'm going to go out a limb here and say that the red mile is akin to a red other light district that you might encounter. I mean, I'm just judging that off of this, but
a brave runner.
Or maybe as a runner, who knows?
A brave runner here to challenge the red mile. Is that what she said?
The galaxy is theirs. They are wrong.
So that is you're probably right. It probably is a running thing.
Some kind of but it's probably red for a different reason.
In Starfield, we're
brought a knife to a gunfight, or the other dude
brought
a gun to a knife fight.
So we've got of course the most important thing: swimsuits. There are swimsuits in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These character models do not look impressive. Maybe this is from an earlier build.
Maybe but they've never been really good. Like we've covered covered Caliente's body mods before. Bethesda is terrible at making bodies. They don't know how to make feet. They don't know how to make, and I'm just saying that as a statement of fact. It's like they are terrible at doing that.
All there, waiting for you.
So that does not surprise me, but as always, I'm sure Caliente will probably have a mod out first week that fixes that. So it adds other options
for you.
Yeah.
Now that thing hanging there, that was an
this is the one of the many fish that give you that that psycho activating stuff.
Have fun with that fishing mod.
Fissies.
Humanity's future.
So yes, I'm hoping we get to visit all of the planets in our current solar system, and they're pretty realistic to, as far as we're aware, what they're actually like.
Come on. Okay.
So here's the character creation screen.
No physical.
Now,
so this is the beginning of the game.
Yes,
so,
this is the beginning. But I think that previous scene that we saw of the person touching it, I think that
might be before it.
It's got to be before, because she's literally holding the thing in her hand there.
You're right. Okay.
So you must get some kind of scene that happens first, followed by this scene, or it's maybe a flashback or a flash forward or something like that. That's going to be really interesting.
Any of this look familiar?
But the
this is what leads into your character creator, and
you start your
looks
character
like
creation journey as though you're cycling through employee records.
You'll
pick from a lineup of 40 presets.
Maybe it's just the lighting here. The skin does look kind of plasticky, but overall pretty good. Overall pretty good. And you have so many options as far as building your physique.
I do want to point this out here. A lot of people are like, no boob slider. This is true. This from body style 1 that we have here.
We're not.
However, I have to say that because they don't switch over to body style 2, we don't see if there's additional options, which that's pretty normal inside games. It's a lot of cases where you have a slider, where you have a boob slider, and then when you go to that body type, that slider then becomes an option, whereas that's not an option in the previous one. So
and walk style. So
now this has me more excited because walk styles are a really popular mod in Skyrim and Fallout. There are a whole bunch of different mods that allow you to add different walk styles. And I think that, fast forward a year or two, we're going to have there's going to be mods where that walk style option is going to have 10 different options. And that's cool because I like that. I really do like the ability to control the walk style of a character because that sets the mood of the type of character that you're playing. And I would really like there to be a separate walk style from the separate sneak style. I would like there to be a separate sneak style as well, because sneak style, when everybody's just crouched and they're just kind of crouching the same, that's not the same. Not everybody sneaks around the same. So that small thing, but because they've already added 2 different options, it opens the door to us having tons of different mods with tons of different walking styles. And then as far as body types go, don't worry. Like I said, don't worry. Mods got you covered. And frankly, I honestly do prefer it that way because they never nail down the body types, the body looks, how real bodies look, how, if you want to do some crazy stuff to bodies, they never ever have those options done the way that I like, or the way that I think makes sense in a world where you have magic or high technology that can, shift things on a dime.
I mean, that said, this looks pretty good as far as his what we're seeing on screen right now.
Yeah.
Looks decently like an actual human person.
Right. It's in the sliders, I like that they have these options.
Journey from there can be
or
do they show us walk style too? I'm guessing it's
detailed or as quick as you want it to be.
Oh.
This new system has more to offer than ever before.
And you can shift it around, so you kind of shift
in the previous games, and I know from playing in the console and making machinima in
It's
Fallout.
also the simplest character generation system
You know,
ever
they
had. We let
the
player
male
get
and
as
female
close as
characters had
possible to
different
make
walk
whatever they
styles.
want, with the various facial
So they're
morphs
just
blending
letting you
together,
mix and match everything now.
dermoesthetic and makeup, blemishes, scars, piercings, teeth settings. It's a lot, but I think it's the most fun to use.
Character creation is
That
more
grin
than
is
just
a
how
little
you look.
unsettling, but
This is also where you start to decide who you want to be. That's where backgrounds come in. Backgrounds give you a bit of backstory.
all right, let's see. Yeah, let's just take a slice of what we're looking at as far as the
More than just how
backgrounds
you
here.
look.
We don't need to
So-
look at every one of them,
Yeah,
but let's see.
Explorer.
So you get starting skills in lasers.
Mhm.
Personal laser weapons are in widespread use across the settled systems. Okay, so that's a weapon skill. Aerodynamics, advanced technology is one thing, but it takes skill, patience, and a little bit of love to coax even more capability out of a ship's grav drive. So does that mean you'll be able to upgrade the grav drive, or just you automatically like can fly faster or something like that? Surveying.
Probably distance. I suspect that there's a way to get to the furthest system, so terminus. You know, if you're thinking in terms like that, there's a terminus system out there where that is the furthest you can go.
Right.
And the only way to get there is to probably, I'm going to assume wildly, is to have a particular collection of traits, unlocks, ship components, and a whole bunch of other things that allow you to push yourself to that utter edge. And then there's probably something really cool there that most people, because they aren't going to unlock all that kind of stuff, most people will never see until somebody makes a video and goes, oh my god, this is amazing, and then everybody goes there, right? So but this is really cool. We've got a ton of different backgrounds. Backgrounds are different than traits, and this just allows us to really customize. And again, you're going to have people creating mods where they intermix some of this stuff. So maybe you want to have a wellness and a persuasion with one of the things from the previous tree, or from maybe you want to have security in amongst some other stuff.
At the same time, these are your starting skills. So I mean, you can develop other skills alongside of it.
Yeah, but that starting bonus, that thing that sets you on the path, I really like that, and I think this is great because I think we're going to see a lot more of this down the road, and that makes that's really, really exciting, honestly.
What's great about backgrounds is you never know when yours is going to come in handy. You could be in the middle of a fancy restaurant talking to some guy, and suddenly you learn he needs a beast hunter to help track down a monster.
Fine. I probably should stick to professionals anyway, given what happened the last time.
We're also giving you
I like that, and I like those situations where it's like, oh, I happen to have the right skills for this situation.
Yeah. Now, the traits, this is where I'm so super excited, because this is, and this is so dumb that they walked away from this in Fallout 3. They kind of brushed it off and said, who needs this? But then they realized their mistake, and they included, because when New Vegas came out and they had all the traits and they had all the crazy stuff, they saw and they went, wow, okay, this is really actually like really highly wanted. And in Fallout 4, it became such a good part that they've ended up really embracing it to the point where I suspect that we're going to have something akin to traits in the next Elder Scrolls game, just to add a flair of
and why not?
difference.
I mean, they're totally optional anyway.
Yeah,
but they can enrich your experience, and it makes sense that like to have something where you have that they give you both a positive and a negative. Just there's something, I don't know, there's something very down to earth about that.
And disadvantages.
So hero worship, we have the return of the hero worshiper. This is great. My running theory is that you're going to be able to take this guy with you, and if you have picked up the parents one, you get to introduce the hero worshiper to the parents, and you can probably leave the hero worshiper at your parents' place.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh my goodness, the hilarity. If they've coded for any of this, this is going to be absolutely astoundingly amazing.
If you get,
I can't believe I get to stand near you, breathing the same air.
I already want to shoot him in the face.
But he's your fan.
You have to pay
your biggest fan.
But they're very sweet, and it's really fun to go visit them.
Honey, we got ourselves a visitor.
And again, this trait gets more interesting if you pick the alien DNA trait. If you pick the alien DNA trait, are your parents also mixed with DNA? Was this something that happened a couple generations ago? Or are you an experiment by your rogue scientist parents who decided to mix your DNA with alien DNA in some kind of bizarre family insanity that could happen? Again, if they have keyed up any programming or coding for this at all, this is going to make traits like probably the best thing ever. So yeah, you can make friends with all kinds of factions because of your traits, all kinds of other stuff. I love the wanted one. This is just basically like, you know, if you've stolen anything in Skyrim, you get those guys that show up and attack you randomly. It's like, I always like that because I always got really good gear from them.
There will be plenty of ways for you to
Can
tell
you be
your
a bounty
story.
hunter?
And if you want to remove a trait, there are ways to do that too.
I'm sure you can collect bounties in this game.
It's a feast for the eyes. Off we go to another adventure.
Oh my goodness.
We'll let you discover that on your own.
Right?
Yeah, what happens if you shoot him? I'm curious.
So,
now.
well, you can. They said you can kill any companion you want to, so that's a thing. Yep, it's very interesting.
It's funny they say that in context of there are ways to get rid of traits.
Yeah. So you do have to pick up points to unlock, you know, additional things in the various trees. You got physical, social, combat, science, and tech. That's a lot of skill trees and a lot of different options, a lot of different paths for you. So I like where this is going. I do. I think this is like going in a really good direction as far as probably one of the more deeper systems that we can have. I would like to see some track lines of being like, oh, you gotta upgrade this before you upgrade that. Not a lot, just a little bit. Like, you know, having at least a couple of different unlocks here and there would be kind of nice to kind of like round things out, make your character feel more broad and not so like micro specialized. I don't know, we'll see. That might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. Oh yeah, and then there's different ranks to them too.
By completing challenges associated with that.
So you unlock it, and then you get to unlock more of that speciality. So again, I really like where this is going because it makes sense that you unlock something, and then you get more proficient in it. It's that whole like doing what you love to do in the game specializes your character to be even better in the game. Brilliant.
Increasingly difficult as you work your way to higher ranks.
That's beautiful.
With our 5 different skill trees and 4 ranks per skill, there's a lot to choose from.
I can't wait for the mods
I like the
for this. It's going to be amazing.
skill because it lets you mind control aliens.
Beautiful. I want to tame the deer bug.
Boost pack and everywhere.
Yeah. Wonder how that works. So you just like really
Maybe it's like Avatar, where you connect with them.
Well, you have to have. I do believe you know, for some of that you do have to have like the alien DNA unlocked. So
you get some special skills. Yeah.
Combat.
The melee looks better than it's looked before. Like it looks way better than it's looked before.
Suit your playstyle.
The boost pack is going to bring a different angle to combat than we've had in previous Bethesda games, for sure. The
some people say
verticality of that, plus the low gravity on some planets, or no gravity on some planets.
Mm-hmm. And again, some people say, you know, oh, it reminds me of Andromeda too much. It's like, I don't think that's Andromeda's combat wasn't the worst. It was obviously buggy and not like smoothed out, but it was the rest of the stuff with the game that was the problem. It wasn't the combat.
Systems with new life, resources, and adventures.
There's a lot about this
Our
that
team
could
worked hard
that
to
is
strike a
somewhat
balance
reminiscent of
between fun and
reminiscent of
realism.
Andromeda, just
We
because of
studied data
the
from NASA and a
I guess the
multitude of other
spacesuits
sources
and
to help
just some
us
of the
make the world feel believable.
From the
From the
imagery.
way we
but
approached planetary atmospheres to the way we placed biomes
it feels very
based
different
on
to
the
me.
planet's distance from the sun. Once we had created a grounded world, we could start looking at all the things that make that world fun.
That thing's cool.
When you leave a planet and head into space, you'll be navigating asteroid fields, having chance meetings with interesting strangers,
This Crimson Fleet,
fighting in space, and exploring derelict ships.
the derelict ship thing is, man, I cannot wait. The derelict ship stuff, like, I think that's going to be some of the best content in the game.
It's all out there.
But we'll see. But that's because I love, like,
Ultimately,
sci-fi horror
it's
and stuff like that so
rewarding
much.
Your curiosity.
Space exploration.
I wonder how many ships you can have.
Thanks to your ship.
You can have. So they did talk about that in the show, that in the podcast. Sorry, Todd mentioned that you can unlock and you can steal a lot of ships, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to sell those ships, or even to scrap them, or do other things to them in a shipyard, in most cases you're going to have to register the ship, which is a cost based off of the value of the ship. So that cost is probably the thing that's going to prevent you from just flying out and your first thing taking over one of the fleet ships in the system, and then you'll be like, this ship is now mine. It's like, yeah, it's yours. But if you try to like go to any system with it being unregistered, that's going to cause you some problems. So,
yeah.
and then the other thing too is that, hopefully you'll be able to figure out like the contraband, but what if there's hidden contraband compartments that you didn't know about in the ship that have contraband in them? They get scanned by the system administrators, and then they light you up. So I don't know, we'll see. So they did kind of say what happens if you take an unregistered ship or a ship with contraband into a system that doesn't want it there? And Todd Howard said, you'll see. So I guess we'll see.
I'm sure you can find something you like.
What if you want to keep the ships though?
That ship.
Make a fleet.
That I don't know how that's going to function. I don't know if you can set your crew to doing different things. That's a very good question. Like,
I wonder if you need ships to, because you can connect. I remember him saying something about being able to connect, different points on planets. So like if you have establishing trade routes or something.
We know trade routes are a thing. Not only is it a thing, if you want to live your privateer, or like that what is it called? Oh Lord, I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. That early game series where you went to one planet, you bought medical supplies because they were cheap. They produced them. Then you go over to another planet that needs medical supplies and you sell them for a profit. If that's all you want to do in this game, just run around as a long haul trucker, there's an actual skill for that. And then B, that's just part of like what you unlock as you develop and play the game. If you really just want to fly from system to system, buying and selling goods and say screw the main storyline, you can totally do that.
Mm-hmm. But
and
if you want to say you set up a mining facility somewhere, and then you set up a refinery or something somewhere else, and you want to connect the two and have your
hire a crew to keep
just,
it up and running,
parting the resources back and forth.
I would imagine.
Do you need
I would
to provide
imagine
a
that
ship for that, or
I would imagine that you will this will, if it's not in the game, that'll definitely be a mod that somebody will make at some point. I doubt that that's an option right now, but I don't know because.
Well, I just remember Todd saying something about being able to.
Bounty hunting.
It's on the tip of my brain, and I'm frustrated that I can't remember what he actually said.
Or even do a little smuggling. For now, though,
so you can do smuggling. If you want to smuggle things in, you do have smuggle spaces within your ship that are unscannable, apparently. So that's a thing. That's an actual thing. So that's very exciting.
Frontier,
I think it was Wing Commander Privateer. Yeah, that's the one.
Changes.
So yeah, lots of different options for it.
Upgrade everything you see here, and you have 2 ways.
That now I want to go over that again. There's so much there in the shipbuilding thing, and apparently shipbuilding is not something that you're going to be doing right from the get-go. It's going to be something that you're going to do a little bit later on. But we have cowling, shield generator, docker, fuel tanks, grav drive, weapons, the habitat, the engines, the reactor, cargo hold, cockpit, the onboard, offboard thing, and the landing gear. The fact that there's that many different subsystems is really, really exciting. Because again, we're going to be able to literally build basically anything with
you
this.
See here.
That's so cool.
2 ways to do that. You can quickly upgrade individual systems like your weapons or shields, or you can deep dive and enter the shipbuilder mode. Here you can change anything from the systems to the look and layout. Adding a new habitat module can give you more room for crew. Adding cowling can change your ship's overall silhouette.
This is pretty impressive. I imagine
grav drive allows for longer distance space jumps.
There's got to be trade-offs, though, right?
Customize your
Wouldn't be realistic without it.
So the trade-offs are cost,
and like maybe
all of those things up at the top left.
Yeah.
All of those things at the top left is grav drive, shield, engines, weapons. Then you've got the reactor, equip power, and all that kind of stuff. It's like that. That is all. Yeah. Obviously that, and then down at the bottom you have all those stats there that you see in an actual number. You know, mobility, top speed, mass, jump range, crew, cargo. You know, all those things are going to factor in. So you're going to be able to make a ship that has higher mobility if you drop the cargo, or if you limit the cargo, or if you tweak the amount of weapons that you have. All that kind of stuff is going to make different
I just feel like
factors.
there are times you'll want to have a battleship, and then there are times you'll want to have a cargo ship.
In-game ship
And
manufacturers bring
so
their
yeah, like
own
having
feel to
multiple
every
ships
piece
that
of
you
your
could
ship.
just dock somewhere might
From living quarters
be useful if
to
that's
cargo
something they
holds,
built in.
mess halls, and control rooms.
It's very, very cool, though. I can't wait to see what people have built with this.
Our modified Frontier is a practical ship, but with a little creativity, your ship can look like
outside of
anything you want.
I mean, the obvious
It's a bit odd, but
gigantic phallus ships that
We're
we'll
ahead
see
of,
many
like, a giant
compilations
tail
of
there.
on YouTube, I'm sure.
And we've done spiders. We've done
There are so many different ships that
What
we're
is
going to
this thing is crazy. Like, looks like a giant mech. And it looks
It's
like
the
it's just,
Optimus Prime ship.
It's a whole ton of just cargo containers or something stacked up. That's got to cost some fuel to launch, though, man.
So it's really whatever your imagination is.
It launches so derpy. So derpy.
Engines ready.
The Frontier is fueled and ready, Captain.
Some of the members of Constellation can join you on your journey.
So we've got romances. That's a thing.
Skills for your ships and outposts.
So he did say ships. So maybe that's an answer to your question, Ash. He did say they unlock different things for your ships, plural. So maybe you can assign different people to different ships and tell them to go do separate different things.
That'd be awesome if you
and
could.
If you're looking for a little extra
control a
help
fleet
on your
of stuff.
ship, you can always hire additional crew at spaceports.
Got any room on your ship for someone like me?
Still think there might be a spot for me on your ship? I gotta get off this rock.
Geology. He's a wait. Is he a geologist in a?
Still think there might be a spot for me on your
Geology, outpost engineering.
Yeah. So he's the kind of guy you might. He'd probably be really effective.
I dub him Randy Marsh.
I gotta get off this rock.
I can't wait till we get all of the different characters in here. I can't wait till we see what kind of mods we get for different characters, and you get mini bots. They asked about how many bots you get to recruit, and here in this screen, which we just passed, there's a security mini bot that's set on the Outpost 1 on Alpha Centauri. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
I think that confirms that there will be different bots that we can get and that we'll be able to unlock several of them.
Assign crew to your ship or outposts, and their unique skills will affect how they run. And just like companions, most crew members can lend a hand in the field. Take Bosco, for instance.
No, he did say most crew members, so that's
the core basics of a NASA machine.
Please avoid getting shot. You might die.
I still wanted to give it almost a humanoid personality, so I elongated.
Yeah, that's very handy advice.
Human-like and give him a little personality.
I do like the robot companion. I'm looking forward to seeing this one.
Using the shipbuilding tools and crew
Can he wear a hat?
Yes! Yes, that is the question.
So Todd Howard said no, they can't wear hats.
What?
But that will be an early mod for sure.
Yes, hats for everyone.
Okay, well,
because I think he referenced to the fact
that's not
that
even the point. What's even the point of playing this thing?
Right.
Can't put a hat on the robot.
So flight looks really fun.
Yes, this looks pretty awesome.
And telling you that you can
most of it's fast travel, so if you want to skip it, you can.
It's not about just hitting your triggers to fire your weapons. It's a complex dance between your piloting skills and our power allocation system. Boosting power to your engines will make your ship faster.
And you can just change that on the fly, I'm guessing?
Yeah, so this is a system that is prevalent in a lot of space games right now. Very common, very, very normal. It's part of some mech games as well. So yeah, this is a tried and true method of having your stats mean something. You know, and that's cool. I like that.
And then the countdown to the grav jump. So I'm guessing, no, the grav drive is the faster than life drive.
Means you're ready for a fight.
I'm guessing you can only directly control your ship while you're at sublight speed, though. And then using the grav drive is like fast travel.
The grav drive is basically a jump. I don't think it's Star Trek-y where you're targeting, where you can you start going to warp and you're headed in just a general direction, and then you can slow to impulse whenever you want. I don't think it's that. I think it's like you're jumping from point A to point B, and then there's flight time in between.
Yes. So I wonder if it's possible at sublight speeds to fly from one star to the other. Now that would obviously take
you can loot the remains
a ludicrous amount of time.
You can always turn any ship that engages you into scrap. But you can also take a more personal approach by docking with the enemy vessel and boarding their ship.
This is probably the coolest thing ever. I'm gonna board every single pirate who dares to attack me. Well, maybe not every single one, but pretty close.
Once you've taken control of an enemy ship, it's yours.
So there was a story that Todd.
Oh yeah. He just says right here, you add it to your fleet. You can retrieve it at any spaceport, so you can have a whole fleet.
You can have a fleet. I don't know if those ships are operable, though.
If they're all if you can just assign crew to them and send them off to do stuff. Maybe
operable in the sense that they're doing things currently.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that. I sort of doubt it. I do like some of the ship styles that we're seeing here, but that was something that Todd did mention. So Todd told this story about how he was on a planet. He snuck onto an enemy ship, and then the enemy ship took off and took him to space, and then he was able to kill the crew on the inside and take over the ship, and now he suddenly had two ships. And that was a completely nobody programmed that directly into the game.
It just happened to take off because
the ships have their own AI. The pilots have their own AI, whether they're gonna especially if they're dropping off, if they're dropping off command personnel on an assault team on the ground, They're just dropping them off, and then they're GTFOing, right? Like they're taking off, they're leaving. But the way that they had designed the game, if you did that in other games, I think it's in Star Citizen. If you do that in Star Citizen, as soon as the ship takes off, as soon as it despawns, because it's just a spawned-in thing, you're just out there in the middle of space, nowhere, falling to your death.
They didn't account for that, but
they didn't account for that. But in this one, because you're in it, it doesn't let that happen.
It can go from planet to planet. You could ride it around the galaxy.
You can get to places that you're not supposed to be able to get to, and you're going to be able to go to places that you're not necessarily going to be able to go to by stowing away on ships. And then just waiting to see what happens. And that, again, is like something that's so amazing as a concept. But yeah, the ships do look amazing. There's lots of cowling and outer designs that make ships look really, really cool. And we'll see kind of where that goes from, from going forward. It's like, how awesome is it going to be? Star yards are cool.
Walk the halls, talk to the crew, maybe get talked into buying a whole new ship.
A civilian in my star yard. Let's see about getting you a proper ship.
This, as Max said, whoever talked him into getting that tattoo,
I feel like he lost a bet.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what Max said, actually.
Actually, that looks like a cultural tattoo. There's like some people who do that. That's like an actual thing.
But I think that's what it is. But I don't think it is in this one, because if you look very closely, it's not look very closely. The things that's going up to his nostril, that's the creature's arms, and then where his mouth is, just below that, he's got two eyeballs. And so he's talking, and you see the mouth moving. So it's a weird octopus that's holding his nose and then speaking through him.
Well, maybe it's a futuristic version of that cultural tattoo things, because there's like certain meanings and stuff depending on like how it curves and stuff. I literally saw like a girl who posted a video about that.
This I want to show this. That's a flagship. Are we going to be able to take over a flagship?
I imagine that's
going to be really interesting.
That'll be a massive challenge. I hope
for the stars.
Like cruise ships.
There are plenty of personal encounters to be had as well. You can hail any ship you come across to trade, swap info, or maybe even commit an act of piracy.
I want everything in your cargo hold right now.
I'm gonna board ships. I'm like, this is now mine. I steal all the sandwiches and put them, in my cargo hold that I have specifically for sandwiches. I don't want to play.
I love this so much. This is the greatest thing ever.
Either she does a lot of piracy, or they've developed a technology that food just does not go moldy.
All the sandwiches are on. No, I don't think food's gonna go moldy. Yeah, I'm gonna love doing
how gross that would be after a little while.
But I want to go out and just start taking.
I can't wait to do a
Starfield
Starfield food video.
Some strangers might be looking for a little human connection in the darkness of space.
Hello, stranger.
So, Grandma. Now, if this is actually Grandma, or she just calls herself Grandma, that's going to be an interesting thing. And I don't know which way. Like, some people are like, oh, that's your grandma. It's like, I don't think that's actually your grandma.
Probably not your grandma.
I think that's just an old lady who calls herself Grandma, who makes food and flies around the solar system. I hope that if you go hostile against Grandma, an entire fleet of ships show up, of like from every faction in the game, and then everybody attacks you, and you get some like trait that's in your thing where it's like you killed Grandma and you're just hostile to everybody everywhere. I will not hurt Grandma. I have this thing where it's like I don't like hurting innocent NPCs in video games. This is just something that really irks me about doing that. But yeah, I'm definitely checking out some YouTube videos.
If you want to come on over, just pop on by.
It's so cool.
Are the ones you discover on your
That's a dangerous game you're playing, Grandma.
The thing I love most about Starfield.
Well, the other option is that she's a psychopath who poisons her food and then takes your ship.
That it is a Bethesda game.
So
yeah, or she's got like
going to
a crew of pirates or raiders waiting to ambush you.
Yeah, we have here we have a very alien-esque environment. I can't wait to get the alien mods in this game.
Meeting interesting people and getting sidetracked on zany adventures.
Zany
realizing
adventures.
2 hours later that you're involved in a completely new story.
You're human. We thought we were the only ones to leave Earth.
That DNA is so present here. It's in our random encounters. It's in our handcrafted quests.
Does that mean that they've encountered intelligent alien life?
No, I think they think they're the only humans that survived.
But then she's very surprised to see that.
Yeah, because they assumed that you were alien to begin with.
Well, that's what I mean.
That doesn't mean that they've met other aliens.
Yeah,
before.
okay. All right.
That just means that they assumed that you were some kind of alien.
We're giving you a massive playground and a ton of toys, and just setting you free.
That's the thing that's selling me on this game, is how much of space they just gave you. They give you so many toys and just said, do whatever you want. And I think that's beautiful.
We've shown you so.
So this is the watch.
Yes.
This is the controller. This is the headset. This is them selling you on the extra products. We were going to do. We were talking about like, hey, we should do a watch giveaway. By the time we made up our mind, they were all sold out.
We always put so much care into all those little details.
The landscapes in this game really are beautiful.
Because we want to give you freedom on a galactic
even the
level.
ones on the desolate planets, it's like there are some great photo opportunities there.
And the quiet ones.
That looks so awesome.
Scanning.
So, yeah, here's where we got. So the planets are all created. Handful of them are populated. The events on planets. The interesting things,
disrupting our experiments. Their habitat isn't far from here. If you could take care of them for us, we would be in your debt.
Yes, the classic
story to tell.
Go kill 10x, and I'll reward you. Because I hope there's more options than just killing everything. I hope that nice.
Yeah.
I hope it's like, okay, maybe there's an option to relocate them or just chase them off or something.
Well, we know that at the beginning of the game, this is something that Todd said. No, sorry, not Todd said. This is something that one of the guys who got his hands on the game for a couple hours. He said that at the beginning of the game, he was offered the choice of to pick up a gun or to state that he was a pacifist. How long that lasts through the game, I don't know. It could be that in some scenarios, obviously you're just going to have to run. If you're a pacifist, there are scenarios where you're just going to have to run away. But can you complete all of the main objectives in the game without firing a shot? That is a very good question. And I don't know where we are on that. But I think that more and more of those options are becoming relevant in the minds of developers. So more and more often they are doing those kinds of things.
After some exploring, you can find a spot to set up a base camp. Outpost can be built.
So outpost creation, I think, is going to be huge. I think it's going to be really important, and I think it's going to be
filling all different purposes. You can
one of the better things you can do for the game.
That way you can really plan your structures and what the overall feel of your outpost is.
It's going to be really interesting to see how this goes, because the outpost system in Fallout 4 was pretty crazy. And the stuff that people could do, like there was the normal stuff that people did, then there was the crazy stuff that a handful of people did, and that was kind of crazy. There was definitely some weirdos out there for sure. But overall,
yeah, but I like that it looks like you can place things sort of module by module rather than just like wall by wall.
And research stations in your outpost to utilize any resources.
It almost took a while to build anything cool in Fallout.
A selection of
and then you can customize your weapons. This is something that not a lot of people have talked about or even noticed, I think. But the fact that you can customize weapons means that if you find a weapon that you really, really like, the options to make it better and to make it like more custom for you,
You can also
is even
choose
better.
to go hands-on with melee weapons.
Melee weapons are
Okay,
beautiful.
we were wrong about the alien
It's always
mantis
a
thing.
delicate balance
It's
between,
dangerous.
like-
And it
Which
is
one?
tall. I was
You can
wrong.
also choose
We
to
saw
go
it there.
hands-on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. There we go. Yeah.
melee
Yeah. That is
Flower mantis
tall,
is it's big and tall and dangerous.
I
aggressive.
think it's always a delicate balance
I-
between like.
I'm
what's
a
realistic,
little
what's sim, and
disappointed.
what's Hollywood.
I wanted those
And I
things
think
to
we
just
sort of
be
err
like
on the side of, like,
kind of
what's fun for
cute
the
and
player.
just hang out, you know.
Well, just take alien
just
DNA
vibe
and,
with you.
and learn how to like
Starfield,
communicate
you
with them.
completely over-
Yeah, I
Like,
suppose.
do not attack me. You will love me, and I will bring you other people to eat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All their combat.
Yeah. What happens to characters when they get frozen? It's kind of cool. They just kind of like freeze and
probably
then
have
they
more
fall over
mods
like a
and
domino.
weapons in this game than
It's kind of cool.
I want to say any other game we've done before. There's a lot of variety.
Big variety of weapons. It's what I love.
Upgraded gear is just one of the many factors to pay attention to when engaging in combat. You may need to switch things up based on your environment. Gravity is different for each planet.
You land on a hostile planet, you go to an outpost, you take them all out with a sniper rifle, then you go in and you loot their bodies and you realize that you didn't kill a bunch of raiders, you killed a bunch of pacifist farmers.
You have a morbid imagination.
That's gonna suck. No, I don't have a morbid imagination. That's what happened to me. In Skyrim, I was playing. Remember, I talk about this from time to time. So I'm in Skyrim.
Yes, I know,
I'm playing on the ultra hard mode, and I'm like, I see an orc walking around with a big weapon, and like he looks like he's threatening something in the distance. So I'm like, oh, he's clearly a raider. I take him out. I hear, "Daddy, no!" And the farmer's kid runs out, and I realize that, oh no, he was being defensive because there was a troll that was coming, and now the troll has eaten the kid. Oh dear. I'm just gonna.
That's what you get for trying to be a hero.
Yeah.
And for giving you an edge in combat.
So, yeah, mobility with the jetpack. I think
Sometimes
really
you'll even feel like
it's
you're
gonna be
flying.
it's gonna be like probably the most. It's probably gonna be one of the better like ways of travel. Makes
Zero
most amount of
gravity
sense.
environments pose a different challenge. Firing a ballistic weapon in 0G will actually push you backwards. Energy
Smart.
weapons, on the other hand, offer a more stable shooting experience.
And I wonder if you're flying around in these things, does it auto orient you to, you know, quote unquote up and down, or is it like Prey where you can sometimes you don't know which way you're facing?
Whether you want to get up close and personal with your own two fists, or maybe you prefer something bigger.
Big guns.
Starfield's got you covered.
I want a big laser gun, and then a laser sword, and then a laser axe,
and a laser grenade.
And a laser grenade. A grenade that you throw the grenade, and then it like does like a laser beam, like in its immediate vicinity.
Laser bazooka.
Yeah.
Nuclear laser.
Just all the lasers.
Everything lasers, yes. Still, there's just something about a ballistic weapon that just packs a. Ooh, those things look dangerous. Something about a ballistic weapon is just very satisfying.
Ah! Ragdoll physics, amazing.
I just hope the AI is decent. Okay, what's happening there? That's
the space wizard tower.
Being with us
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
We are just so grateful. Exploration, every biome is different. The word that
come together.
So some of these
create some
biomes
the
you can
most
see
beautiful
here.
sunsets
I just want to show this. This
and
is
sunrises
some of
we've
the
ever had in
last
any of
stuff
our
we're
games.
seeing here.
I love the
But
creatures, the
some of these
exploration, every
biomes,
biome.
like this, looks like one of my favorite planets. We'll see, but this just looks beautiful and interesting.
Is different.
The pink
The
haze,
word
the,
that
all
comes
the
to mind
all
is
the flying
vast.
creatures. It's like this
I
stuff.
like to use our photo mode
really
to
awesome.
take rock star photos.
I just love that constant feel of discovery and wow, I can't believe that there's more here.
I'm most excited about our Outpost building system.
So this is here. I want to show this. This is one of the things that makes me feel that so the planets are all created procedurally and then checked over for obvious faults. And then the stuff on those planets, the micro stuff on those planets, are different per person who goes there. So here we have this shot. We've got a tree up on a hill. We've got this cool rock formation next to the lake. Swap over. Now it's something else. Does that mean that it's different? Even some of the life looks a little bit different. So is that what's going to happen? Are we going to have a different experience on each planet for each player, or like how's that going to roll?
That's a very good question.
And I'm looking forward to that. I think that's a great idea, because we need less guides on YouTube that are like, go to this planet, kill this mob, get this thing, you're done.
My favorite part
I think that if you had that different for every person, then the guides would change, and it's always a discovery for the player that's new and different and unique.
It's what you've come to expect from a Bethesda title, but on a much bigger scale.
I'm hoping that guy standing with all the weird stuff, I'm hoping that's going to be a human who is like really messed up from like some like kind of weird like Zerg like infestation. That would be so cool if that's a thing in the game, and an enemy that you fight. Yeah, good stuff.
Well, this is incredibly impressive. And I've got a couple of things I want to talk about just as we wrap up here. Usually when I see a game like this from any company, or when I see a preview for a game like this, it's kind of, my thought is, can it, wow, I hope it's as good as they're showing it off to be.
Yeah. Right.
This is the first time where I'm kind of looking at this and saying, is it even possible for it to be as good as they're showing it off to be? Because there's just so much in there that they've shown. And unless they're faking a whole bunch of it, like that's a massive amount of it's just going to be mind-blowingly huge. And not just in terms of like procedurally generating a 1,000 random planets, just all the different types of creatures and all the different environments, all the different things you can do, all the different interactions. Like there's so many complex interacting systems. It's just kind of mind-blowing. And so part of me is like, is this real? And will it actually be as good as it looks? Now we have the technology that this could be exactly as shown, and obviously, they've been working on it for a very long time. It's been quite a long time now since their last major release. I'm not counting Fallout 76. It's been 8 years now since Fallout 4. That's how long we've been on YouTube. It's been that amount of time. So they've had a lot of time to work on this. They have had the other projects like Fallout 76, but that's kind of in a different category in my mind.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to maintain cautious optimism just because of I still have hype fatigue from Cyberpunk 2077, and I don't think I will ever be at that point again where I'm so hyped for something or so impressed by something that it's such a massive letdown. Because I don't know, I think we all learned a lot from that experience, and so I don't think I'll personally ever be in that situation again. I maintain a cautious optimism with these games, and obviously, I like being able to pick them up day one because that's part of our job here, and be able to tell everybody else what whether or not this is worth picking up right now or not. And so I'm glad we have the opportunity to do that, and I do hope it's really, really good. The other thing I wanted to bring up was the 30 frames per second issue. That was another thing that was confirmed in the interview with the Kind of Funny Games podcast. Now, I'm not clear on this. Maybe you can tell me. Is that what it is on consoles, or is that period the game? On all platforms.
No, that's just the Xbox console.
That's just Xbox. Okay. All right. So PC, that's not an issue.
On PC, if you have a strong enough,
assuming you have the
You will be able to run this at 60, 120, 240 if you really want to, and there might be some blockers on trying to force it past that, because they are trying to optimize stability. That's the core part of what they want.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that that's how it's going to be.
All right, yeah. So that still sounds like it's pretty demanding of system resources.
Well, for now, yes, but you got to remember this is a decade-long game. Like they are going to. They have plans to keep this thing running for a decade.
Assuming it's successful, which I imagine it will be.
I think at this point
they were saying the same thing about Cyberpunk. So,
well, no, because we've been hearing we'd heard a lot of the rumors. We know that the Cyberpunk is good now. Like this next update that they're getting, the game is apparently going to be really fantastic. But that's the problem of them not spending enough time in development and trying to push it out a little early. That's obviously where they took
and
the
also
L. Because they pushed through so many stuff, and then they constantly cut back on the things that they were adding. Yeah, we're going to cut this. Yeah, we're going to cut that. We're going to cut this. We're going to cut that. We're going to cut, wall running. We're going to cut third person. We're going to cut this. We're going to cut the subway system. We're going to cut flying cars.
They promised too much too early as well. I mean, there were a lot of problems.
That and the fact that they rebooted it twice. It's like, please stop doing that.
Yeah, exactly. We have no. This. Okay, we got a teaser a few years ago, but they didn't show us anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it's been fairly recently that they've started showing us what the game actually looks like. And so they have not overpromised, or at least at this point, what they're showing us, we're only a couple months away from release. So we know this stuff, yes, this is in the game. They're not going to be clawing it back at the last minute. So that's better that they've gone about it that way. But yeah, this is the kind of thing where you have infinite opportunities to expand something like this, be adding more planets, more factions, more cities, more whatever, more story, more characters, everything. When you're playing on the scale of the galaxy, you've got infinite possibilities for expansion. Mm-hmm. So yes, I could see this being supported for a decade or more with new content. That's a mind-blowingly long time. That'd be like if they were still adding expansions to Skyrim a couple years ago, or even now. Regardless, how AI tech moves in helping development, and then the mods and all that kind of stuff. Like, we're looking at something that they're giving us a giant toy box full of Lego, thematically themed Lego, and they're like, do whatever you want. And it's not going to take long for people to go, I can sneak some of this medieval Lego into it, and then we can really have fun. I can sneak some of this Fallout Lego into it, and then we can really, really have fun. I think it's looking good. I won't say it's great, because every time I do, I end up getting proved wrong. So I'm just going to not do that to always
everybody.
Wait and see. Don't pre-order. This is a sales pitch, this whole thing. Remember, it's a sales pitch. It's always good to maintain a healthy skepticism.
I'm looking forward to seeing how people come at the game from different angles, because not everybody's playstyle is the same, right? So it's for me, I'm probably going to focus on a little bit of exploration, a lot of base building, and see how the resource management is, and I want to explore the companions, and who knows, maybe I can find a dog meat companion. That would be nice, because animal companions, it'll be interesting. It's I'm not used to buying stuff off the get-go, and so it's been a different experience joining you guys here and doing that and playing games right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was like that for me too. Fallout 4 was one of the first games I bought fresh off the as it was released.
Right.
And if this is the type of game as well where you can just go in and live in this world and have a satisfying time playing it, even if you're not even touching the main story, which is one of the more popular mods for Skyrim is the Other Life. Is that what it's called? Other Life, or
alternative
start?
Yeah, so you
where
start,
you can,
and there's the base mod in that where it adds, I think, like 10 or so starts. Then there's all the mods that use that as a platform to add their own starts in, which I think last time I did a count was like 50 to 100 some odd starts, where you start as everything. You can literally get all those mods installed and all the other ones that all the other special ones. It's like you can literally choose anything from starting as a poor beggar locked in a cell to a Jarl of Whiterun.
So
it's like
I would be like you
everything
alluded to the choice of picking up a gun or saying you're a pacifist. It'd be awesome if it was right at the beginning of the game where you're like, okay, come join Constellation, we got this mission. Or you could just be like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing and just leave and go off and do your own thing. And not even touch the main quest, but still be able to just play the game as you want. But then, you always have the option to go back to it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
When they say you can do anything you want, which they've said multiple times in this, that's what I picture. And so we'll see if they deliver on that. I mean, so far it's looking good. I'm excited to play this. But again, I always do maintain that healthy optimism. Healthy skepticism, or cautious optimism, I guess, because otherwise you can get burned really fast.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up for us. Thank you for joining us for this Starfield deep dive into the Starfield Direct, and we're going to be keeping our eye on this. So we're going to be covering this game extensively. When it comes out, we're going to be playing it extensively. We'll tell you what we think of it. Put out some guides, all the stuff we usually do right here on the Triple S League. If you are not already, please subscribe to Triple S Podcasts, which is our news channel where Cybsidian and Max Darrett do Maximum News, where they cover the game, all of the gaming news of the week. And so, this last week's episode, they talked a lot about Starfield. I'm sure, as Starfield news drops, you're going to catch it there on Maximum News. I'm sure of it.
We cover everything pretty much on a weekly basis. And there's a lot to go over. So join us
plus
for that.
Tons of other, all the other big gaming news as well. You can catch right there. Here on this channel, we've got guides, we've got comedy stuff, we've got reviews, lots of different types of content, all gaming related. So subscribe here, subscribe there. You can also check out our other channels, which are linked in the description below. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon. Did you enjoy that video? Let us know by slamming that like button and leaving a comment below. And if you found it helpful or informative, consider hitting that super thanks button or checking out the other support options in the description. Subscribe for tons more guides and other fun videos. And for insightful gaming news content, check out our sister channel, Triple S Podcasts.